I gotta say, you look just like me. Except, you're more angry back alley than friendly neighbor.
I didn't know it would jump us right into the cutscene.
For decades, I've wanted to shut that mouth of yours.
Welcome back to Couch Co-op. I am Peasant.
I am Doc Gracie.
Doc had to have a bit of a decompression after battling the symbiotes there.
F them symbiotes. Oh wait, I don't bleep that.
Yeah,
that's too early in the episode.
I would have not known to bleep that, Doc, if you hadn't told me.
Well, we're too early in the episode. You know, YouTube doesn't like it right away. F those symbiotes.
Welcome to your
Alright, you gotta hit those blinking things on him.
Hey, what's with the King Kong trip? Those glowing conduits look like the source of his power. I bet if I can hit them all with my impact webs, I can take them out.
Okay, so that's the pressing forward and shooting web.
Time to do a little pest control.
After I take you down, I'm going after your boss.
That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah, this is the one that I said
the
if
big
it's on
master
hard,
of illusion.
this boss fight is basically impossible.
You're working for the wrong people, Mysterio. After I take you down, I'm going after your boss.
Time to do a little pest control.
You'll have to be better than that, Mysterio.
What the heck?
I don't know what that was.
Ooh, look at the big master of illusion.
You shall not escape me. I've got you
So,
now, little
okay.
spider.
You know what? We were discussing off air about possibly saving this discussion for something else that we're gonna do.
Dude,
In the
capes
future.
are out
Oh,
this
you
year.
wanna get remind them. Remind them, Doc.
Okay, so
You shall not escape me.
we were discussing one of
mixes green
one
and
of our
purple?
more
I don't get it.
one of the more important video game franchises to the both of us. Which at this point, it's
You know,
probably been
Mysterio,
mentioned on
the
something
bigger they
else
are,
that we've
the
been on
harder they
together
fall.
up until now.
Careful now.
But we're both in agreement that probably
Dude, capes are
the
out this year.
where's there we go. That one of the more important well, shoot the thing.
Careful now.
But anyway, one of the
You're
more
working
important
for the wrong
franchises
people,
in video
Mysterio.
game history to the both of us would be, what would that be, Peasant?
Oh, it'd be Metal Gear Solid series for sure.
Yeah, for definite sure. And so we were discussing all things Metal Gear,
He is
because
shooting lasers from his titties.
titty lasers.
We were basically discussing how
No,
important
Mysterio, the bigger they
upcoming,
are, the harder they fall.
volume of Metal Gear Solid games coming out for the PS4,
Who
PS5,
mixes
and
green
everything.
and purple? I mean, it's a crime. It's a sin.
Because I had said that hopefully when we get a Volume 2, they'll put out Metal Gear Solid 4, because that'll be the first time we'll be able to play it on anything.
Whoa, wait,
other than the
colorblind? Who
PS3.
mixes green and purple?
Yeah, and from there, from that discussion, we brought up the fact
Dude,
that
capes are out this year.
if you want to get technical, with the exception of the PC port of
Who mixes
Metal Gear
green
Solid
and purple?
1,
I don't get it.
I'm gonna die here. Because I can't even move.
Oh, there's a thing right above it.
If I bet I didn't. Ooh, I'm not dead yet. Now,
Oh, what the? Oh, now you're dead.
Jesus, that was ridiculous. But with the exception of the PC port of Metal Gear Solid 1, and of course the remake, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes on the
What's with
GameCube.
the King Kong trip? Those glowing
Metal Gear
conduits
Solid
look like
1
the
has
source of his
technically never
power.
gotten
If I
a
can hit them all
re-release
with my impact
on
webs,
anything
I can
other
take them
than
out.
What are you doing?
the PS1. Like, and so people are going to be like, no, but you could play it on this and
You
this.
finally found a
The thing
costume
about
the
it
size of your
is,
ego.
it led to another interesting discussion with Peasant not realizing,
You'll have to be
because
better
we,
than
you know,
that,
we went
Mysterio.
from there into discussing because his brother Blade still has the old backwards compatible version of the PS3, correct?
Yeah, specifically, he's got whichever model that you can play all of the games
capes
on.
are out this
Yeah.
There's the Fat PS3, but then there's 3 different models of the Fat PS3, and they can't all play all of the games.
Yes. And I figured out through there, and he's not unique in this because I know a lot of people that are this way. Peasant did not realize that when you talk about the backwards compatibility of the PS3, and with Sony eventually dropping said backwards compatibility,
Mysterio.
that they only ever dropped the backwards compatibility for PS2.
Yeah.
Even up until the very, very last, what we refer to as the top loader PS3s, they were still backwards compatible with the PS1.
Yeah.
They would still play PS1 discs.
Mysterio.
And then even with that, you know, you could buy a digital copy of Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PSN back during the PS3 era. But it was still essentially, I mean, it was the PS1 Classics port of it essentially.
You'll have to be better than that, Mysterio.
And so if you want to get technical through that,
time to burst your bubble, Mysterio.
you were still essentially buying. You want to turn towards him? But you were still essentially buying a digital copy of a PS1 game.
Ooh,
But yeah, but more importantly through that, like I said,
version.
just through this conversation, yeah, Peasant was not aware.
Why do you have to keep saying that?
what's with the
Most
King
people
Kong
are not
trick?
aware of it. Like,
Well, it's just because it led to this conversation. Don't get hot about it, jeez.
Mysterio, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
but Metal Gear Solid 1 has had 3 releases on
you
the
finally
PS1.
found a costume the size of your ego.
So, okay, so, of course, there's the initial... Jesus! You know what's killing me here is when I initially go to, like, shoot the thing at him, he's not doing it on the first shoot.
Hey, you finally found a costume the size of your ego.
I just shot him in the dick.
I think, I don't know, try using the arrows.
Ooh, look at the
No,
big
never mind.
mask.
There it went, finally, Jesus.
I think that may be a problem with it being a PC port, because I would
Taking that
imagine
giant act to Vegas
that
instead.
it used different buttons on the controller than it did on the PC.
Yeah.
Let's hear
So
it.
anyway, so as far as official releases, physical releases of Metal Gear Solid 1, and we're going to
There are more of them?
exclude Twin Snakes here because it's a remake.
Sure.
It's a different
It's
thing.
a ground up remake.
Yeah, it's a ground up remake. It's a different thing.
You're the
So you
fool,
had
Mysterio.
the original PS1 release,
Where are
Yeah.
they coming from?
which of course later led to the greatest hits release of it.
Right.
Still PS1, but it was the greatest hits version. You did have the PC, which is the one outside of PlayStation 1 release of it that officially
No
exists.
one
Right.
can control the symbiotes.
But then during the PS2 era,
Spare me
you had the
propaganda,
Metal Gear Solid
okay?
Essentials
This
Collection,
isn't a game,
which came with
Mysterio.
Metal Gear
The
Solid,
symbiotes will
as
destroy
well as Metal Gear
everything
Solid
in
2
their
and
path.
3.
There was
I
one
can
other
stop them.
release on the PS1, I think.
Not on the PS1.
I think it had its original release, greatest hits, and then it had one more. Could be wrong.
I think you're getting it confused with VR Missions. Because VR Missions was a separate game that came out on the
Okay,
PS1.
I'm gonna look it up. You can continue on.
Okay. So yeah, the PC port, but then on PlayStation, like I said, the original release, the greatest hits release, it was re-released on the Metal Gear Solid Essentials Collection, which came out for the PlayStation 2. However, the Metal Gear Solid 1 disc that you got with the Essentials Collection was still just the PS1 disc. So it was still just the PS1 compatible game. I believe, I can't remember what, because again, the Essentials Collection was just Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, and it was the Substance and Subsistence versions of 2 and 3.
No thanks.
There was one other release
To keep the body count
that
low.
I'm blanking on the name of it, but it was essentially kind of like the Essentials release, but it had some extra stuff with it, like graphic novels and like all that other kind of stuff. I legit cannot remember what all else came on this version of it.
Although,
oh, more symbiotes? Are you kidding me?
Warehouse has a bit more in store for the
Oh, it is more symbiotes.
than even he
I forgot about meeting Punisher and stuff.
Oh,
Yep.
more symbiotes.
Yeah, exactly, Spidey. More symbiotes.
Holding out.
But either way, though, even on the other release that it came after the Essentials collection, it was still just a PS1 copy of it. You could still take that release of it and pop it into your PS1 and play it.
I think I was thinking of the integral VR missions.
Yeah. Oh, now you gotta fight them on both sides? That sucks. But then, of course, it was released digitally on the PlayStation Network for the PS3 and the PSP. However, those versions were still just basically digital ports of the original PS1 game.
Now, reword that, because I don't think they are ports. You're saying that if you could stick that disc in the original console, it's not a port.
Yeah, I mean, I probably did word it poorly. I'm just saying that...
Because a port would be for what well, I wasn't even saying anything. I was just saying that Metal Gear Solid 4 was the most important thing to come out of this volume release because it was the only one that's not on anything.
Okay, yeah, so a better way of wording what I was saying is the digital release of it that you could buy on the PSP and the PS3 were pretty much, again, in this point, we're just...
Those boxes you can pick up, they'll set them on fire.
Cool. Anyway, those digital releases for the PS3 and the PSP were essentially, up until that point, the only versions outside of PC port that you could not play them on an actual PS1 because they were digital releases. However, the ROMs were still just the PS1 ROM.
Mm-hmm.
That's a better way of putting it.
Right.
I need to destroy all of the generators.
But either way, though, like I said, it just led to a big thing. And I know I keep harkening back to you didn't realize, and yet the point is a lot of people don't. It's fascinating to me that a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people I know anyway don't realize, that the PS3 never lost its backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 backwards compatibility did not go away until the release of the PS4, and it's fascinating to me how many people don't realize that.
Yeah. Well, I also think, I feel like it's a moot point because
For the generators.
I think because of emulation, the only generations that are suffering currently are PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3.
Oh no, and I agree 100% with that. I mean, it just...
Follow my Spidey compass.
Like I said, my whole point is it's just the fascination. Like, because honestly, I did not realize that was such a thing, that so many people did not realize that PS1 was still supported on PS3 until the very end.
Well,
Like the
I
concrete,
don't
the dripping water,
think...
very nice.
Well, because I think the more important thing was the PlayStation 2
Tingling.
games.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree.
Oh my god.
Boy, that was a mistake. I'll agree with that.
Because, like, here's a question that could get some people hot and bothered, but I'm fine with asking it. Outside of what was released on the PlayStation Classic, what do you actually want to play on the PlayStation 1?
An enormous
What do I
ventilation
actually want to play on the PlayStation 1?
Yeah.
shaft. Big down there.
I am... Okay, I don't think I need to... Oh, no, right here.
Yeah.
I am, of course, obviously... Oh, okay, so
that's what I'm saying. Outside of what was released on the PlayStation Classic.
Well, do me a favor while I'm bombing at this game terribly. Will you pull up the library of the PlayStation Classic?
I'm pretty sure there's only 3 games on there you care about.
Yeah, well, but once again,
I will pull it up.
Yeah, let's see,
Spider
because
sense tingling.
there might be some surprises. Because honestly, I mean, I currently have your PlayStation Classic at my house. Have not even had a chance to fool with it yet, because you know I stay so busy.
I have to go to a specific website for this because everybody has a different list.
Oh, I was supposed to do that. I thought I bombed.
How far down are we?
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of lists of what's supposedly on that classic.
For some reason, no one ever updated it after it came out. And so the majority of articles on the internet of what's on the PlayStation Classic are all of the things people put out of what they think are going to be on
couple of 100 feet underwater,
all the predictions.
electrified floors and
no
walls,
one ever updated it when it came out because they were all really
straight at
disappointed.
me. Oh, my day just keeps getting better and better.
Okay, I've got the list. You want me to name it off?
Yeah, name it off.
I can't say this first one. Battle Arena Toshihiden?
Okay, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. Intelligent Cube.
Yep.
Rayman.
Yep.
Siphon.
Rayman, I could give or take.
Siphon Filter.
Yeah, I like Siphon Filter.
Cool Borders 2.
Yep.
Jumping Flash.
Nope.
Resident Evil Director's Cut.
Hey,
Yep.
Tekken 3.
put someone's eye out with that.
Destruction Derby.
No.
Metal Gear Solid.
Of course.
Revelations Persona. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six.
I would. That'd be fun to just pick up and play around with.
Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
Mr. Driller. Ridge Racer Type 4. Twisted Metal.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
Oddworld's Abe's Odyssey.
Sure.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
No, I'm good.
Wild Arms.
No, I'm good.
I'm getting a feeling somebody
Okay,
doesn't want me
so outside of that, I mean, just with that by itself, let's go back to Metal Gear Solid for a second. I would obviously want to play the VR Missions standalone game.
For this place must be enormous.
Yeah.
So that would obviously be a thing. There's plenty of other Final Fantasy releases for the PS1 I would love to play. Even though, like, you know, some of these are released
Quit shooting the lasers.
on other platforms, and even better ports of some of these have been released since then. Like, for instance, the Pixel remaster that we currently have of all the old Final Fantasy games. I am a fan of, I believe it was Final Fantasy Origins, which was released on the PS1, which is Final Fantasy 1 and 2.
This place.
With those, with those versions, they added like the PS1 era pre-rendered style cutscenes, like we've been seeing in this game. Mm-hmm. Those are really cool. There was a release. I want to say it was maybe Final Fantasy Chronicles, which was Final Fantasy IV, also with those style cutscenes, as well as Chrono Trigger. And then Final Fantasy Anthology, which was Final Fantasy 5 and 6, once again with those PS1 style pre-rendered cutscenes.
I'm sorry, have you named a game other than Final Fantasy
I'm just
yet?
going through those right now.
Okay.
Like, because trust me, we'll get there. And like I said, almost every single one of those games in those collections I've mentioned have been re-released on, again, even the newest, like the most current generation platforms.
Yeah.
However, there is something still charming and appealing to me about those versions of the game. So those, yeah. You know, one thing that blows my mind, considering that especially for the PS1, damn, I'm getting my ass whooped by these guys.
It's okay, you got Fireweb now. I'm curious now, having discovered that
Trap webbing doesn't seem to work on these guys.
all PlayStation 3s play PlayStation 1 games. Because before having that knowledge, I would have very confidently said...
I bombed that one.
I would have very confidently said playing Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation Classic is the definitive way to play Metal Gear Solid. But now... Can the PlayStation 3 put out the same resolution of Metal Gear Solid as it can on the PlayStation Classic?
Coming from. Who is
I'd
behind
like
all
to see a
this?
comparison.
Well, there's a way we can do that because you happen to know someone who still owns.
I am not shitting you right now. I would have to pay him to let me make that comparison.
No, you wouldn't.
Oh?
Because you know you're sitting next to somebody that not only still owns their PlayStation 3, which will play Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh, you still have your PlayStation 3?
I still have my PlayStation 3.
Oh, okay.
And I still have not only the digital PSN release of Metal Gear Solid that I bought, I still have a physical copy of it.
So going off of because I've already asked him, and he's already a little bit pissed that I made him bring the Wii up here so that we could record something. So I already know for a fact he will not let me do anything on his PlayStation 3 unless I pay him.
Well, you know, sorry, Blade, but you can get left out of this then.
But he,
But yeah, I still have my PS3.
to tell you a funny story the other day, so he brings the Wii up here so that he and I can record something on it. And he only brings the Wii and everything because he had to go do something and he had to leave it in his car. And I'm like, you didn't bring the game so we can't record it today? He's like,
Spider-Man.
no, I didn't bring
I'm
the
so
game.
happy to see you.
The game cost more
What are you
than
doing?
all of
Who's
this
behind?
stuff I've brought
What's
here
going on
before you.
here?
And it was like the whole box of like
Your guess is as good as
controllers and the
mine.
Wii and everything. I'm like,
ambulance
what?
must have drugged me.
What?
That's the next
How
thing I
much
knew,
does
I
it
rolled up
cost?
here.
And I looked it up, and
Gotta
it's
get me
like
out of here.
$170 for Metal Gear Twin Snakes.
Why do you think I don't have
Shut
a
down
new
the
copy
power.
of it?
I feel like we bring this up every time you talk about
got it,
wanting to
Pat.
play it. I just forget how expensive that game has gotten.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's why I'm still going the emulation route on trying to play that game again, because no.
Have you tried emulating it recently?
these
Like, is there
security
like
controls unlock some of
should
these
emulate
doors.
fine, huh? Or
Well, again, like I tried emulating it on OpenEmu on my MacBook, and the problem is the Dolphin emulator on there. My MacBook will not run the Dolphin emulator smoothly.
yeah.
So there's always lag when I try to do it. I'm just gonna start skipping these guys. Bump it.
Yes. Good.
Bingo.
But yeah, it will. Like, there's always lag when I try to run Dolphin. I have not tried it on my PC. Like on my desktop. I'm sure my desktop would run it fine.
That ought to blow
But
the
I just,
power too.
I haven't tried it. So, yeah, so that, but either way though, like I said, emulation is the route I'm going on trying to play Twin Snakes, because yeah, I'm not freaking paying that much for a copy of it.
But not
Yeah.
enough pressure.
Because I'm sorry, all you retro game sellers out there that think that these discs and these games are worth the amount of money you're asking for it now, I don't care who has told you otherwise. You're full of shit, and you're also thieves and carnies and crooks, and fuck you.
I kind of back up the price for Twin Snakes. I feel like.
I don't. Simply because of the fact that you can go on eBay at any time, and it's not like, well, there's not many copies of it out there and all that. No, you can always find a copy of it at any given point.
Well, it's not the demand of it. It's that game is never going to be remade.
I'm not 100% sold on that.
I
Ready to
am,
blow.
because
I think eventually at some point we'll get it again.
maybe. But here's the definitive thing. If Kojima ever comes back, like is being teased at, because he said he kind of misses working with Konami and everything, and Konami's kind of suffered on the Metal Gear line without him and everything.
Yeah.
If he ever comes back, like 5 years from now, we're 100% not getting a Twin Snakes.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that, because personally, I believe with the upcoming Volume 1 collection,
What else
we are
is Spider-Man
only
for?
getting
You go
the
get the
NES
Hellcat.
games
I'll find out who's
because
behind all
Kojima's
this.
not involved in it. If Kojima was involved in it, there's no fucking way that those ROMs would be in that collection.
We got them on Subsistence and Substance.
No, we got the MSX games, not the NES games. The NES games are completely different
Oh,
animals.
we got the MSX games?
Yeah, we got the MSX games.
Okay.
We have only ever gotten the 8-bit Metal Gear games that Kojima himself made.
That's right. You were telling me this because that's why you thought you were gonna get the Nintendo release of Volume 1.
Yes.
And then you found out it was getting on everything.
That it was getting on everything. Yeah, no, the Metal Gear games that were released on the NES, which of course is Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge. First off, Snake's Revenge, Kojima had nothing to do with. That's why it's not considered canon. It was its own thing that was made separately. But even the NES version of Metal Gear is not the version of Metal Gear that Hideo Kojima made.
I need not control.
Yeah.
It's not at all. It's its own separate thing. Similarities because they borrowed some some shit from the real game in it. But like for instance, in the NES game, the game starts with you parachuting down into the forest outside of Outer Heaven. In Hideo Kojima's game, it starts with you basically swimming up to the front door of Outer Heaven.
Right.
Also, in the MSX game, even though Metal Gear is never active, you never have to fight Metal Gear, but you do have to destroy Metal Gear. In the NES game, you only have to destroy a computer that controls Metal Gear. You never even see. I don't think you ever even see Metal Gear in the NES game.
Spider-Man.
Okay, I don't know what you have to do on this boss fight.
Some way to draw power away from his shield.
Oh, okay. What?
Yes, this shield is
Why
drawing
would that
power
even
from
lower?
his, but I
Why?
still need to draw more power.
Let me lower an off switch.
Because video games.
Whatever you are
fair.
trying is useless, Spider-Man.
But even without the Kojima algorithm being in place,
It's working.
I don't think
One more
Nintendo
should do
is
it.
gonna let Twin Snakes get out.
And it is all dependent on how much control.
That's it. Time to pay the piper, Ock.
All right, whoop your ass. It is all dependent on how much control they actually have over that game.
Well, see, here's the thing, and this a good point to bring up because we're very curious of a lot of the stuff that got changed in Volume 1 coming out because they had to replace some footage that was like, open source library footage that they used that they replaced, right?
Yeah.
Because Nintendo published it was on their platform and everything, so much would have to be changed from Twin Snakes that it wouldn't be Twin Snakes if Nintendo didn't want it out. So I think they have all of the control, honestly. Because yeah, Konami could put out Twin Snakes, but I think there would be so much that they would have to change from the game.
I mean, like, the biggest thing would be, obviously... I mean, it's stuff that essentially... Like, one thing that would have to change, that you would potentially have to change would honestly not necessarily have to be changed anyway, because it was all dependent on circumstance. Like, like, for instance, when you played Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, during the Psycho Menace boss fight cutscene at the beginning.
Oh, we're already curious on how you're gonna do that in the Volume 1 release.
I think you're just not gonna do it because, again, even on the original PS1 release of it, if you didn't have anything on your memory card that was not programmed for him to read,
right,
it just skipped that part of the cutscene.
I'm saying I'm curious on how they're gonna do the changing controllers.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's already a thing that's interesting anyway. But no, I'm not even talking about that. Like the memory card reading thing. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily a thing that you have to change because, again, if you didn't have anything on your memory card that was compatible that he would read, it just skips that part of the cutscene. So it'd be the same thing in Twin Snakes because, in Twin Snakes he read Nintendo games that were on your memory card. Right. It just skips that part of the cutscene if you don't have anything on there. One big thing that would have to change, I feel, which I don't think would be that difficult to do. In the original release of Metal Gear Solid, in Otacon's office, where you fight Gray Fox for the first time.
Yeah.
If you look, there's a part in his office where he actually has a PS1 on his counter.
Yeah.
In
And
Twin Snakes, he had a
GameCube,
GameCube.
Yeah.
That'd be simple enough to change.
But
then other than that, there's in that same cutscene on Twin Snakes,
Bubble in the middle of
he has a Mario and a Yoshi doll.
Yeah.
Fire and Sonics.
You're naming stuff that's all like Nintendo Central, and I'm talking about we don't know how many of those textures are owned by Nintendo.
Honestly, I feel like it's probably just going to primarily be... Damn, how much health this man got? I think it's going to primarily be like Nintendo-related IP stuff, like the Mario...
And see, I don't think it's gonna be that. I think it's gonna be way more than we realize, because, like, coming from a production point of view, the way that, what was the name of the devs, the developing company?
Silicon Knights.
Silicon Knights. The way it works for a project like that is because Nintendo was publishing it. Nintendo could have the option, or Silicon Knights could have the option to pull from Nintendo library for like textures and stuff. Which is why it's funny playing this game, because this game has a sound in it that gets used in a lot of video games. You remember the lizards?
Yeah.
The lizard's roar is used in a bunch of different video games. Because I have flashbacks every time I hear it in a video game. I think of this game. So I think it really just depends on who owns what from what library that was used.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I'm already at full health.
But see, but the thing is, like I said, I don't think that...
Oh, you want to push him into the middle of the thing. This game's weird, though. I feel like you could have just kept beating him up.
Oh, it would have taken a while because, like, you look at how little health is being taken off of him that way.
Yeah, but still, it's like, I was saying this earlier in one of the other episodes, it's like, this game doesn't have the classic, he's invincible until you do this. Like, you could just beat the absolute crap out of him.
Yeah.
Already locked and loaded. Your plan is doomed, Carnage. You hear that?
What the fuck happened?
I think the machine killed you. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so I can't go in there. Gotcha. Didn't realize that.
You were in there at some point, so taking it, so I don't even know.
I didn't notice that it was killing health. That's okay, though. Now we got this, so we're gonna whoop that ass.
Why do some of these cutscenes look so much better than others?
I don't know. But no, I'm calling it now.
Seeing as how the only two things that symbiotes hate are...
As long as it happens before Hideo Kojima ever gets involved with Konami again, if that ever happens, I think we'll see a Twin Snakes re-release at some point.
I'm gonna be on the side of we're never getting a Twin Snakes release, but I mean, I am gonna shit myself and freak the fuck out whenever they announce it, and I know that I'm gonna get a text message or a call from you.
Oh, you getting a fucking I told you
oh
so
my
the
God,
moment.
I know.
The moment.
I know that I am never gonna be able to live it down. But I feel very confident in saying we're never getting a Twin Snakes release. And it's so funny. I love our dynamic on shit because I love Twin Snakes. That is one of like my favorite Metal Gear games.
Yeah, I don't love Twin Snakes.
Yeah.
I just acknowledge its place in the lineage of Metal Gear.
And you're the one that's like, you know, you feel like we'll get one eventually, and I'm like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
You can't beat me, Cletus. Hey, loud enough for you?
Yeah, like I said, I have my issues with it. However, it's not like a case of like Metal Gear Survive, or as we affectionately call it, what?
Voldemort.
Yeah, it's not like a case of that where it's just like, I don't care for it, but it needs to die a fiery death.
Its name is Survive. You might as well say it. It's going to kill you either way.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of Twin. Or I guess a better way to put it, I don't think Twin Snakes is superior to the original release. But I do acknowledge that it should be celebrated amongst the lineage of this series. Because I mean, hell, in the case of some people like you,
yeah, I would just like to go ahead and say, because I want everyone to know that I am not ashamed of it. I do think that Twin Snakes is a superior release.
What's up? Is that Hawk?
That's Ock with
Carnage's
This is
symbiote?
just an outrun him mission. So
Place is gonna blow. I gotta get out of here.
all you're doing is running away from him.
Well,
This was another 6 months because this was the same thing. Is the computer I was playing on was too slow and he kept catching me.
hell,
Oh,
he's
you
catching-
gotta swing.
Could have told me that sooner.
I didn't think about it. Okay.
You failed me as a friend.
Wow, that's
Like I told Mysterio,
that's tough, man.
I'm sorry.
control the symbiotes.
But no, and again, and I respect, even though I think you're wrong, I respect your opinion on Twin Snakes being the superior version.
And I don't have a problem with you thinking I'm wrong, because I only just now recently found out how divided the community is on it.
And yeah, it's divided, but at the same time, like
Gonna blow.
from what even you've seen, you could call it a divide, but way more people are actually on the side that I'm on with this.
I don't think so. I think it's very evenly divided. I've
Shit.
recently been looking into it lightly, not very heavily. You gotta go straight up.
I forgot how to zip line.
There you go. But I think it's pretty evenly divided. Here, I'll skip this cutscene this time.
I don't know, because I see very little love for it.
I
mean, put it this way, like, you could go on YouTube right
Gotta get
now
out of here.
and just look at any kind of retrospective or review on Twin Snakes and just look at the level of reviews that are shitting on it compared to the reviews that are putting it over.
I don't agree with that metric, because that's not. I feel like the metric of actual fans that play it, because not even a percentage of fans that play both games are content creators, right? That's like 0.04% would make a video on it, right?
I mean, I'm telling you though, I feel.
Leave in the comments what side you're on for sure. But I feel like when you go to
I'm dead. These controls will fuck you at times.
I feel like when you go to like Reddit and stuff and look, like there's plenty of people shitting on it, but I think there's a bunch of people that like the game as well.
This place is gonna blow. I gotta get out of here.
I mean, I'm not saying that nobody likes that game.
Oh no, I don't think anyone. Yeah, I don't think anyone thinks that.
Because obviously I'm sitting next to somebody that likes that game. And I don't, and once again, I don't hate the game.
Yeah, it's a weird conversation to have because it's a great game.
The bed goes up here.
Right?
I don't hate the game. I just don't think it's superior to the original release.
Right.
Which, I mean, very, very rarely do I think a remake is superior to the original release. I mean, offhand, about the only two examples that I can quickly think of offhand. What the fuck? About the only two examples I can quickly think of offhand would be the remake of Resident Evil 1 and the remake of Resident Evil 2. Like, easily I'll say those remakes are superior to their original versions. But outside of that, and maybe from what I understand, I think a lot of people maybe feel the same way about the Dead Space remake. I'm not sure.
Every definitive edition that I have seen And that's a statement. That's a thing because there's a lot of definitive editions I haven't seen, so I don't know if those were good. Every definitive edition that I've seen, which is probably any of them released between 2019 and now, have been superior to their original release. So that would be Mafia and Command and Conquer and Age of Empires 2.
Now, this is very important to specify here because I'm specifically talking about from the ground up remakes, not remasters.
Whoa!
Well, so
now I'm not sure if any of those
definitive editions are different. Definitive editions are the definitive edition category.
Keep swinging, Spidey.
So I don't know. I don't know if you would.
This thing's unstoppable.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't count a remaster in that.
There hasn't been that many remakes in the history of gaming, I feel like.
No, not many, but like I said, it's just, my big point I'm getting at is very rarely does a from the ground up remake end up replacing
Stay away from
the original game as the definitive way to experience that content.
Alright, well I'd like to put an argument for Last of Us.
Getting closer to the surface.
Last of Us has not had a fucking... I don't count The Last of Us Part 1.
I feel like, I mean, if it's labeled as a remake, like, how can you not count it? Like, what is the measurement that we're going off
Really
of
building.
here? Because here's the thing. If they changed the engine from not Unreal to Unreal, that's a remake in my book.
Shake 'em.
No, but the thing is what I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not... I don't think that...
That was a good move.
Hell, I'm gonna start doing this.
How are you doing that?
I'm just shooting at the wall.
I've never known you could do that. I knew you could do up. I didn't know you could do in front of you. That's crazy.
There.
Come on.
It's not over yet.
Shit, wrong direction.
Okay,
Yep, I'm fucked.
no, you got it.
Going critical.
Wow.
Dude, you're so fucking close. I think just swing into the darkness, my dude.
Alright, so I think if there's not a wall in front of me...
Level 1. On the home stretch, baby.
I didn't even know you could cancel off the swings.
Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna focus for a second, because this is... Oh, fuck!
You went beast mode there, dude!
Oh my god, I can't believe I got that.
You were like swing canceling and like going off walls and shit, dude! That's it.
Okay, I beat the game?
We're gonna watch the end cutscene, dude.
Nice. Okay, cool. So while we're watching this end cutscene...
Perfect end to a perfect
Yeah. Last of Us Part 1 on PS5, graphically superior to every other release before it.
Right.
Outside of that, though, it's not that much more superior.
Which is why well...
Black Cat gave me a call, son. Looks like
Okay, finish that, because now you're not making sense. Go ahead.
Can you get us
All right.
Captain America's autograph?
Oh, brother. Punisher. How many threes?
go fish. So
Trying to think how to word this the best way possible.
Spidey.
Oh,
Sorry for the long cuts in the audio here.
Beating you guys at cards, that'd be pretty easy.
you're
Yeah, okay. I guess technically The Last of Us Part 1, yeah, counts as a remake. I
All night.
really kind of feel like it's another remaster.
No, I understand where you're coming at.
But the thing about it is,
Friendly, clean game.
I don't feel like it's as superior
Hey, will you guys keep it
to
Hey,
even like, let's say the PS4 remaster of The Last of Us. I don't feel like it's that much more superior to it. It's not inferior to it by any stretch of the imagination.
If it is not inferior and it is not much more superior, even if it is 0.01% more superior, it is superior, therefore it is the definitive way to play.
I mean, if you want to split it that way, okay.
I mean, that's the way my brain works. Logically speaking, that would be technically, to a technical standpoint, the Last of Us remake, the last one to come out, would be the definitive way to play that game.
You guys think you're so
I guess. I'll admit that maybe part of my issue is I still do have issues with the fact that I don't think it was necessary.
You feel like you got gypped.
But who's crying?
I feel like you made me pay full price for. Well, I didn't pay full price for it, but you made people pay full price for a slightly better looking version of a game you could already play on that console.
Right.
Because, I mean, even still now, you can play the PS4 version of it. Even if you don't have a disc drive version of a PS5, you can still play the PS4 version of it on that console.
Right.
And yeah, it looks a little bit better than the PS4 version. Not that much, though.
Right.
And in some places, I would argue that it doesn't... Like, some of the character models, like, for instance, Tess... I don't feel like Kess's character model looks better in the PS5 version than it did in the PS4 version.
Now, there is one major change to the game, right? So, and that would be them adding the father as the doctor, right?
They changed the character model to match that because, yeah, the father being the doctor thing and all that didn't come about until part 2. You want to know honestly why I feel like... Because I do feel like eventually the PS4 version of it will probably disappear.
Right.
Especially once PS4... When the PS4 finally gets to a point where it kind of dies, I think then you'll see it disappear. You want to know the biggest purpose I feel like The Last of Us Part 1 honestly serves?
Do tell.
More than anything else. If you remember, when... Especially on the PS3 version... And it's still kind of on the PS4 version. But when The Last of Us was initially released, Ellie's character model heavily resembled Elliot Page. And that turned into a big whole thing because Elliot Page actually at the time raised a stink about that.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was a whole big thing. So, and that's why when they did Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2, she was very much she was redesigned enough to where it's still obviously Ellie, but the Elliot Page, the Elliot Page features were kind of like taken away.
Right.
Where she doesn't resemble Elliot Page as much.
Yeah.
And with The Last of Us Part 1, her character model is more reminiscent of her character model in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
I really feel like the biggest purpose The Last of Us Part 1 serves is giving us a version of that game that it completely eliminates the Elliot Page facial features from Ellie. My personal opinion.
Okay.
That was the biggest purpose of that game. You want to jump in some Mario next time?
Yeah, next time we'll probably play another game.
Yeah, since I just beat this one.
Yeah.
I dominated at it, kicked ass, didn't die once.
I'm putting in every time that you died in the series.
You just need to, like, it's just a montage of all my deaths.
I'm going to put out a separate video that is just a montage of all of your deaths.
And my reactions to them.
Yeah.
It'll be a short video because I never died, though.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It won't be a video. It just won't exist, right?
Yeah,
Doc?
it just won't exist. It'll be like Metal Gear Survive. It's not real.
Anyway, I've been Peasant.
I have been the best Spider-Man 2000 player of all freaking time.
Wow, that's a statement. Everybody stay comfy out there.
Be good.